do you remember how for a little while people were talking about Gavin Newsom like he was this attack dog who was going to fight against Republicans, even though he's not really like left leaning or whatever. He's like he's militant. He's Gavin Newsom. Yeah, because California, that dude sucks. Yeah, I could have told you that. He's arguably worse than Chuck Schumer. In a way, yeah. Even liberals hate him now because of bringing on Bannon and Kirk. Yeah, in his podcast, he's been bringing on Nazis. Argue and agree with them.
Also tonight, one of the biggest names in the Democratic Party is making a surprising break with the rest of Dems tonight on one of the country's most hot-button issues. California Governor Gavin Newsom criticizing transgender athletes who participate in women's sports during the debut episode of his new podcast. Listen to this.
I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. I revere sports, and so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue.
Newsom there talking about all this, and why is it such a big deal? Couple reasons. Not many elected Democrats have taken that position. Also, governor is seen as a pretty likely candidate for president come 2028. Keep in mind,
gonna fucking win. You should never give a shit about what people say about trans rights now, because the Democrats have completely like absconded on the issue, right? Like, yeah, obviously in the absence of anyone defending trans people, people are anti-trans, obviously. His podcast bullshit already sank his 2028 prospects. I wish that was true. I don't know if that's true. I wish that was true. Like, it's... do we have any actual examples of trans women athletes who are actually good? If you're asking, like, is there any reason to be on the anti-trans woman in sports hype train? The answer is, like, no. It's just, there's no reason for it. Intuition fails, really, in instances like this. It's just, it's totally irrelevant. But, God, and he had Bannon on. This is Gavin Newsom, the podcast.
Tax cuts that disproportionately favor the wealthiest. And you are making the point that it should disproportionately focus on the middle class and working folks.
Governor, I'm not so sure.
Dude, he's on, what the, he had Tyrus on? He's on a roll, man.
Stevens narrative that
no.
I don't want to.
Oh, no. Okay, Tyrus is talking from the from the seat. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I thought he was saying he had where is he? Show me Tyrus. This guy on. Thanos on. Gross Newsom legitimizing all those Nazis. Yeah, I've seen some clips from the why am I not Steven Crowder? Thank God, not Steven Crowder. The Charlie Kirk bit. And yeah, no, he's like glazing them. He's like, you guys really got us. You guys really got us with your misrepresentation of these topics. You wily rascals, you. Here, give me like a shorts list, okay? Like, show me what you want to promote most. That's what I want to look at, okay? He's just kicking it off with this, too. Yeah, your hate campaign really won over the public. Give me a
Charlie Kirk. What the hell are you doing here? By the way, what brings you to California, your favorite state?
It is my favorite state in the union. You're doing such a great job here, by the way. No, I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you. And
you were just down at USC?
I was at USC yesterday. Drew a big crowd.
By the way, I knew you were at USC early because my niece, who's graduating,
she was the one with the MAGA hat on.
She was. By the way, I do have to watch, but she was down there and she was like, she said,
"You never know; these kids are going to the right."
I'm aware. She said, "This crowd's crazy." The point
is there. Wait, I'm sorry. This is a short. So this is something that Gavin Newsom, or at least his production team, decided to like specifically highlight. So far, Charlie Kirk has made 3 jabs at him, and all he's done is laugh. This is like a curated highlight.
Which is, you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
No, but I know, but I appreciate that. I mean, it's the reason you're here, because I think people need to understand your success, your influence.
It's a humiliation ritual. Yeah, it really is. Is there any point we're watching this? This is just rage bait. I mean, it's the governor of California and one of the presidential prospects in 2028, assuming we still have anything even remotely resembling a democracy at that point. It's bipartisan. It's not even bipartisanship. Charlie Kirk isn't a politician. He's an out and about fascist influencer. Like, there's no, he had Steve Bannon on. There's absolutely no reason to have him on. This isn't even like a platforming Nazi. that logic at this point. The Nazis are already in government, okay? It's not even about like the platforming Nazis thing. It's that Gavin Newsom, like the tone of this conversation. Like, I thought everyone talked about Gavin Newsom like he was some kind of attack dog against Republicans. Like, oh, yeah, he might hate homeless people, and yeah, he might be like a bad leader, and yeah, he might shoot down like left-leaning bills that come through the legislature in California. But don't worry, guys, because he's like a goddamn warrior against Republicans. And you can really see it here, too. You can really see it here.
It's what you've been up to and the fact that you're on these college campus tours. And to your point, man, you just open up. I mean, you're like, ask me anything.
Anything.
It wouldn't surprise me if he shifted over to the right, like if he changed parties at some point. The only thing Gavin Newsom has ever cared about is personal power. He's a grinning sociopath. He runs as a Democrat. He pretends to be a Democrat because he's in California, which is how you win, you know, the governorship in California, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, in current times, at least. But like, he would shift over just as easily. And New York, yeah. I'm telling you, man, it's Democrats connected to finance, okay? You go to the Midwest where there's not as much financial investment, not as much money floating around, and you have authentic, sincere Democrats. That's how you get Tim Walz or whatever. You go to New York or California where there's trillions floating around year over year in the GDP, and you get these monsters.
I think you talked about it the other day. A lot of folks were talking about that Carville article where he talked about
Roll over and play dead.
Roll over.
To be fair, I do think, Vosh, shortly before or after the election, you were saying Newsom hates Republicans when people were talking about him making California a stronghold. Yeah, and what the f*** are you listening to me for? I'm clearly an idiot. No, I mean, obviously this podcast bullshit wasn't out then. I don't remember what exactly I said, but Kirk went on Fox News later and said he doesn't believe Newsom at all. This dick-sucking session was for nothing. Genuinely like a humiliation ritual. Like, that's the point of it, you know? But I get, like, do you think Gavin Newsom is trying to jump ship? He's like, well, okay, the power's with the right now, but they won't even accept them because they have their own guys. Like, why would they take you? They hate California. They hate you.
In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat, right? That we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. And this was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And I immediately, no BS, thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone, owning this space, every day getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000 folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment to finally strike. Struck me as not necessarily the best advice, and it's not a knock on Carville.
That's why I call him Gavin Newsom, because he's choking on Charlie Kirk's cock right now. Not a knock on Carville, by the way, you know, not a knock on Carville, this demonic ghoul, you know, not to besmirch this evil idiot who I'm disagreeing with here.
Carville, who I have deep respect for.
I bet.
Your thoughts?
That's okay. So I don't have to. He's read about one thing in the last 40 years. It's economy is stupid, and boy, has he spent down that one line pretty amazingly. Yeah, I hope you guys retreat.
You kind of like the
more
advice.
For us.
You like
I mean,
the advice.
there's no opposition. There's no activist spark. You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know.
most
This
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same
Oh, you
thing.
didn't like that.
Genuinely, like, is the point of this? Did Newsom get paid for this?
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead. Go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice.
Get better ideas, Governor.
This is curated. This isn't even like is the point of these clips is like Charlie Kirk is owning you. And I've talked to the guy. He's not all that, all right? You're a governor, for f***'s sake. I'm a YouTuber.
How about the book ban stuff? On a serious note, 4,240 books or titles, libraries and schools were banned in 2023. Is that not as a conservative?
Well, it depends. I mean, like, I think we can both agree pornography should not be taught to 9-year-olds.
Fair point.
Okay,
Fair.
so that's
This guy, phenomenal pushback. Thank you, Newsom, for all you've done. Let's just take that at face value. Newsom talking with a Nazi in 1935, you know, and Newsom's like, you know, those book burnings. How do you feel? I thought you were tolerant of the opinions of others. And the Nazis like, no, well, I think we should agree that degenerate pornography should not be distributed. And then Newsom's like, okay, yeah, I guess that's true. I think that degeneracy is bad. Thank you, Newsom.
the book ban.
All right. Well, there were some other books.
Oh, no.
Bill
That-
O'Reilly's
that
book
was the
banned.
Moms for Liberty contention. Time out.
Yeah.
Like, I agree on Bill O'Reilly. The Moms for Liberty movement
others.
that you made a big thing of was just no porn to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
We agree. So those books should be banned.
Just instantly, completely concede on this point, which is again like verbatim Nazi rhetoric. The idea that all depictions of or representations of non-heterosexual people are pornography, which is just a classic Nazi talking point.
What we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that
is a
include the
book ban.
Bible?
Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point. Is that a fair point, or is it offensive?
I don't think that's fair
and as
at
a man
all.
of faith, and I deeply admire that about you.
Thank you.
Sincerely.
Yes, but no, I mean,
Yeah.
again, the
Epic
Song
own.
of Solomon is rather risque.
No, it's
but what we're
very-
talking
so
about
good.
in these books is not just the words, it's also the images. And again, your audience can look at the images themselves.
Okay, I get it.
It's highly graphic. But again,
But it seems a banning binge. I mean, at next level, sort of cancel culture.
But why do you think moms are doing that? Do you think it's because they want to have mind control, or do you
No,
think
I
that they
think-
have come across
I think there's-
incident of highly provocative
I
material?
love moms, but this mom's.
Jesus Christ, man. Is he referring to health science textbooks that show penises and vaginas? Well, the difference between those textbooks and the kind of stuff that Charlie Kirk is referring to, by the way, of the thousands of books that have been banned, a few of them have like crude drawings of genitalia. And by crude, I mean like 4-year-olds are doodling this shit for funsies. We're talking about 8 = capital D here. Okay. The anatomy textbooks are far more graphic. Anyway, the idea that these fascists have any issue with any depiction of sexuality is flagrantly false. Again, they don't have an issue with the Bible. The Bible has plenty of risque stuff in it. It's just queerness. We're years past this talking point. Remember DeSantis's "Don't Say Gay" bill? They just explicitly said in law, like, nope, no mentions of gender or sexuality, by which we mean, of course, like gay people or trans people or whatever. Like, we've already done that. Like, the idea that these bans are being curated along like lines of indecency is just not defensible anymore. But here's Gavin Newsom. Reminder that books like Anne Frank's diary are also banned. Oh yeah, they banned like books, like awareness about the Holocaust. They've banned a lot of stuff. What's Newsom doing talking to Charlie Kirk, trying to pivot to the right?
I mean, we don't have to get into Moms for Liberty. It seems
you brought up the book bans,
deeply,
though. I mean,
deeply organized for a larger agenda. But that's my humble opinion.
No, but let me just kind of complete the point. Is that
But like, why? Who is he winning over? I don't think he's trying to win over anyone except the right, and not the right for like voter support. I think he's planning for a pivot to the right, as in like being a Republican. I don't know. I don't think it's going to work, but I think that's what he wants. He's a sociopath.
it's easy to just call it kind of a book ban, but when you actually have to read some of these books, it will take your breath away of some of this stuff.
It really won't. It's the reason why they vaguely gesture at it rather than actually explicitly describing what the issue is.
Right? You're like, okay, we're teaching a 10-year-old how to put a condom on.
I know. I just have a problem with, who the hell is going to decide that? Government? I mean, Ron DeSantis is going to decide what I can read or say in the boardroom, in the classroom?
This is the exercise of politics, though.
Yeah.
The exercise of politics is the highest form of community because it blends morality and sociability. So what we do is we have discussion and elections, and we have boards and commissions, right? And we
does anyone else have a better explanation for why Newsom is specifically clipping these sections where he's getting dog walked by Charlie Kirk? He's not even offering any pushback. Like it's not even like conservatives will agree with Charlie Kirk. Like he is objectively not pushing back against Charlie Kirk here.
people say, okay, no porn for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that's politics, right?
Yeah. He cuts it there. He's cutting it every time on Charlie Kirk. He's such a neolib, he thinks this is an own. No, I think he is aware of the fact that this is meant to... It's made out like he's having his mind changed and he's learning. Yeah, no, genuinely. I think that is the point. I think the point is he's gonna do like a why I left the left bit. Like it's meant to, like this is meant to be like I had these conversations and now I realize that actually, multiculturalism is a disease or whatever. Yeah, he can be like the next Dave Rubin or something.
We have a broader problem, which is immigration policy and asylum abuse. The asylum system
not even He doesn't even have to be convinced of this one. It doesn't even have to be fronted by the conservative guests. Just open with it. Sure. No. Go for it. Go for it.
Broken in the United States of America.
You have the power to do something about it in the state, don't you?
Well, not directly. And we have no direct border, except for supplementing our support, which we, again, have been doing for years and years and years.
So here's a great statement that no one's going to expect from me, where I probably am to the left of you on something with immigration that people don't understand. Yeah. I know of a person who was here 20 years from Mexico.
Yeah.
He's worked 7 days a week. He's paid taxes. He can't become a citizen. That's wrong.
I'm with you.
Something's wrong with that.
This is interesting. Just the last comprehensive survey in the state of California, and this is not a contemporary survey, needs to be updated, said that 67% of people that are here without documentation in California have been here for 10 plus years along the same lines.
But are they paying taxes?
And paying taxes.
But here's the
vast
secret
majority
part of it.
Folks.
The worker pays taxes, but they have several dependents at home who live on supplemental income from the state and the federal government.
Like, wait, like what? If they're undocumented immigrants, how do they do that? Wait, are we talking about undocumented immigrants, or are we talking about citizens? Because that's the case whether their parents and like the poor children get benefits from the state. Yeah, that's always the case.
That is a problem.
And therein lies, yes, some of the sort of dialectic you and I will have to have in terms of what's the appropriate level of support.
For citizens? For poor citizens? What are we talking about here?
And how you deal with that reality. The federal failure to address the issue of immigration policy, and border. We completely agree with. The question is, what's that pathway to address the example you just provided?
Agreeing with Michael Savage. Yeah, Michael Savage is so far right, he was permanently banned from entering the United Kingdom. Just
so your audience understands, this CR today, the House will approve the Biden-Kamala Harris spending for this year.
This is the one that Schumer just let through the Senate.
They're
locking it in, and that's a tough one.
How are you out there supporting that then?
Well, because right now, I think with everything and by the way, it's that plus it's a $2 trillion deficit, and I think to keep the government open, to keep President Trump hitting on all cylinders, to keep Doge at work in federal court overnight. They just announced they're going to vote on it this afternoon. He thinks he's got the votes in the House to do it. Then they're going on recess. They're sending it over to the Democratic Senate with a play me or trade me.
Which
right?
Then they need 7 votes on the Senate side in order to get this done. Otherwise, we got a government shutdown, yet another one. What is your over-under on the prospects of that?
I think it's interesting. I think the Democrats have to make a decision of whether they think
make like a normative
it's better to
statement.
Keep it going and keep the resistance they've got in the legislative part, but also in the courts. This is a bitter pill to swallow for us, because we have argued this is the whole reason Kevin McCarthy, a guy you know very well from California, we got turfed out as speaker. It was all over. It was the deal he cut with Biden that gave President Biden.
Okay, they're not even making normative statements here. They're just making descriptive statements. So what am I supposed to? Just one more.
One of the things we saw in the last couple of years that the Democrats completely ignored, and your side was basically not acknowledging was happening, was the crisis that young people were experiencing.
Right.
That, I mean, it's the first time in America's history that a 30-year-old is going to have it worse off than their parents.
Right.
It's a breakdown of the social compact.
Right.
So far, Trump has done wonderfully so far that trend is reversed rapidly. It turns out it wasn't like, increasing housing costs, wages not keeping up with productivity or inflation, the decaying of the social fabric, austerity, lowered government support, job insecurity. The problem was we didn't have enough of those things, and now it's getting fixed.
They are the most alcohol addicted, most drug addicted, most suicidal, most depressed.
Wait. Aren't young people today consuming significantly less alcohol than older people? I don't know about the data on the drugs, but like way less.
Most medicated generation in history.
Right.
And the message that was largely being fed to a lot of young people was lower your expectations. You're not going to have the same American dream that your parents would have. Mm-hmm. And we saw this as an opportunity, especially with young men. And again, this got ridiculed a lot by the press that, they're creating this manosphere thing. Look, they're half of the population and necessary for any society and civilization to succeed, which is to have both strong men and strong women.
Yeah.
And we went about that in a very unique and creative way. And again,
If you work really hard, fellas, you can be just like Charlie Kirk.
the president became a cultural phenomenon where no matter what you threw at this guy, he rose above it. And you would even have to give him credit. I mean, facing 700 years in federal prison, states tried to kick him off the ballot. I know you spoke out against it, but California did have a
Charlie Kirk. You have to give Donald Trump credit, Gavin Newsom. Yeah.
action that tried to kick him off the ballot.
Right?
Despite
I love
all
him.
of that,
I
of
love
course,
him.
being shot, and that was kind of the crescendo of all of it, he kind of became this figure of an American comeback story. So he personified what a lot of young people, especially young
I agree
men,
with
wanted
everything
back
you're
in their
saying
politics,
uncritically. Thank you.
Which was
this whole clip is literally just me agreeing with you. That's the entire point of this clip. It's just me agreeing with you.
ascendant rebel attitude against these institutions that have failed them so miserably.
Who needs enemies when you have Democrats like these? It's like, again, the party affiliation is meaningless. This is more uniparty shit. Gavin Newsom is going to be with my guess is that Gavin Newsom sees the writing on the wall. He understands that the Trump administration can't last forever because they're incompetent and stupid and arrogant and greedy. And he's also himself a megalomaniacal sociopath. So what I think what he's thinking is he can position himself to be there to pick up the pieces. He wants to be the new right. And the new right won't be MAGA, but what it will be is this like, okay, Trump was bad, he fucked up, but Trump only really fucked up on like logistical grounds. In a cultural sense, we need more capitulation to corporate power, and we need to drop the wokeness. So basically, like, he's maneuvering, and I don't think it's going to work, but he's maneuvering to be in this position where he can do a why I left the left to kind of pull it together himself. Maybe not in the next presidential, but eventually. He's young. I mean, by presidential standards, he's young. Let's see how Charlie Kirk feels about that.
Fox News alert. We now know 9 Democrats have voted to break the filibuster.
I don't want to be reminded.
Joining me is the founder of Turning Point US, Charlie Kirk. What's up, Charlie?
Will, great to see you. Thanks for having me, man.
I'm glad to have you. I haven't spoken to you personally. I know you were with Sean Hannity the other night. You sat down with Gavin Newsom. You sat down on his inaugural episode for his new podcast, his, let's call it, his mainstream washing back into politics. You came out of that going, he's clearly running for president. And what I think you said that was correct is we better take him seriously.
Oh, yes. Everyone should be very beware. Look, he understands one thing about the Democrat Party that most other Democrats don't quite recognize, that their ideas are not going to work in a midterm or a general election. Now, we must understand that Gavin Newsom is a terrible governor, one of America's worst, if not America's worst, and very, very slippery. But he has very good political instincts where he knows on the issue, for example, of men in female sports, that they have to move to the middle on that he has to try to calm down some of the radical open border rhetoric. I don't believe any of his, just like he has any, that this is a true conversion. But I do think it's interesting.
Jesus, it's so obvious that even Charlie Kirk is calling him out for it. Like, he is. He's doing, like, even Charlie Kirk's like, yeah, he's clearly trying to, like, do this shift or whatever, and I don't believe it. Like, it's they're not even going along with it, man. What the hell?
Because there's a debate going on within the Democrat Party right now of whether or not they're going to moderate themselves, or are they going to double down on their core, out of touch, unpopular, progressive values,
et cetera, et cetera.
Again.
True.
I'm totally.
He keeps his hands in motion and his hair full of lotion. True, Gavin's views may be idiotic, but his hands moves, well, they're hypnotic. California Governor Newsom's new podcast is out. It's available wherever fine hair care products are sold. And we couldn't help but notice an unintended...
Who is this clown? Gutfield. He gets 6 trillion viewers every night.
...light his unique hand gestures. Watch this clip with Steve Bannon.
I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump.
Isn't Newsom Italian? He looks Italian to me.
Things from that sort of mindset.
This is racism.
What do you mean? What do you mean for Trump?
I think there's sort of the grievance narrative that comes from Trump. This notion, there is sort of a victim grievance.
Well, they did.
Let's take a closer look at this with a spot shadow.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like doing Mr. Then you do.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. His own state party is attacking him for it now. California Democrats sickened after Newsom backpedals on transports. I did see this, yeah. I saw people were disgusted with it. California Legislative LGBTQ Caucus releasing a statement saying they were profoundly sickened and frustrated by Newsom's anti-transgender stance. He can't get a third term, thank God. Dude, he's not trying to get a third term for the governorship. He's trying to become the U.S. president. As a non-American, I feel like I'm losing my mind experiencing U.S. political culture. It's literally just money. America has the most money in the world, so we have the most corporate influenced insincerity in the world. It's it, you know? There are plenty of governments that lie and are corrupt for a wide variety of reasons, but I feel like we deal with the, in like an absolute sense, we deal with the greatest weight of it here. Yeah, money is speech, you know? Gavin Newsom's making me believe in accelerationism. Gavin Newsom's making me believe in like radical anti-electoral participation, okay? It's just I gotta say, the Democrats right now are not doing a very good job of convincing me why I should believe that voting them in will make a difference. I need to like resolve my thoughts on this. Are you dense? The difference is what's happening every day compared to what was happening before Trump won. Jesus Christ, dude. To me, saying whether it makes a difference when we vote for Democrats, dog, Democrats just voted for the Republican stopgap bill that enables Doge. We're talking about whether or not the Democratic Party, well, only 10 of them. Well, yeah, but I think that if it came down to the wire, they would have found another one. It's just a question of whether or not the Democrats are like meaningfully resisting what's happening. And it really seems like they're not. It's just one of the big problems as well is just that there's such a strong culture within the Democrats of not criticizing their own, you know? Republicans are not like that. Trump will attack people. You know, they fought over the House Speaker role for months before. It goes beyond just like being abrasive. They actually do. There is like a struggle within their party, you know? They uplift and they cast down as necessary. You know, like it's just, you must understand, a little disheartening that the Senate Minority Leader completely kowtowed and essentially voted for the Enabling Act. Meanwhile, the governor of the largest blue state in the union is literally doing a right-wing podcast where he pulls the why I left the left bit. And then you have to wonder, like, isn't there an underlying problem here? It goes beyond just Gavin Newsom. The systems that produce Gavin Newsom are also the problem, right? Like the systems that produce Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer didn't just magically decide this. Chuck Schumer has been a shill for Wall Street for decades, and he was still allowed to be the Senate Minority Leader and has been for some time. It goes beyond just like, oh, it's like these aren't random turns, right? I'm not talking about Fetterman here. Fetterman just lied. Fetterman pretended to be progressive, and then he just lied and shifted. Unfortunate, and definitely, by the way, motivated by money / AIPAC having videos of him kid, but this stuff happens. Though weirdly, it only happens to Democrats. Happened with cinema, too. Only happens to Democrats for some reason, not the Republicans. It's always one way. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all of the systems that allow people like Schumer or Newsom to rise to this position in spite of very, very, very obvious evidence as to who they are. This isn't new from Newsom, by the way. The guy who personally showed up and dismantled homeless people's camps as the governor, doing law and order showboating as governor. Absolutely insane. Shutting down left-leaning bills that made it through the California House and Senate. He shut them down because they were too left-leaning for him. The Green Party is now right. No, the Green Party is just the Russian wedge. They're just foreign assets. They're not a vote for the Dems is just a vote for the Republicans, but later down the line. No, I don't think that's true. What I think is that there are fundamental problems with the Democratic Party and their ideological inconsistency that means that they are incapable of pushing back against Republicans. This is not a new criticism. It's just like, man, has it gotten bad? Like, this is not a new thing I'm saying. I've been saying it for 5 years, okay? However, I will admit, the degree to which these failings have been stacking is a little disheartening, you know? They've really been rolling up lately. Now, I don't think they're insurmountable or anything. You know, I don't think it's impossible that the sincere Democrats take back the party, but they would need to, you know, show some gumption. But are you actually saying voting doesn't matter now, even if Gavin became president? So many horrible things would be stopped at the very least. No, DJ Monotonous, respectfully, you're the reason why this is happening. Like, this is a lack of broader thinking. Like, that you're doing what people accuse me of doing with the voting in the lesser evil thing, where you don't look beyond what the consequences are of accepting this system. You can't accept a system where you have extremely evil pushing you always to accept greater and greater evil from the slightly less evil side. Like you can't accept infinite concessions to the right because you're approaching it. You get closer and closer to the right, but you never actually become as bad as the Republicans. And then we're just like sort of locked in an infinite cycle between the two. It's not a question of whether Gavin Newsom would be a better president than Trump. This is to me is an irrelevant question. It's meaningless. The question is, are our lives being made worse? Are we being raped to death by people who hate us? And the answer is yes. And there are many of those rapists, and one of them is Gavin Newsom. Now, you can say maybe he's raping you a little more tactfully. Answer the question, vote or don't. Answer the question. Who the f do you think you are? You got the spotlight on me? You think I avoid answering questions like this? Answer the question. Excuse me, citizen. You expressed doubt in the ability for the Democrats to improve the situation for the average American. You spent several minutes explaining why. You need to answer right now. Well, holy shit, man.